Welcome back to Naja News. So we have some breaking news. Holly Quadajah Johnson has been charged with first-degree murder in the death of 31-year-old Chicago mother, Romeca Meeks.
Breaking news, it doesn't stop there. We just got this update on a fatal shooting that happened back in September in the South Loop. Quadajah Holly Johnson is now charged with first-degree murder in the death of Romeca Blackman. Johnson and Blackman share children with the same man, and we do know that man was also at the scene when this shooting happened. Johnson was initially taken into custody, but then released shortly after the shooting. Johnson is set to appear in court tomorrow at 11 in the morning, and we will definitely bring you any updates as we get them on this story.
As you all know, I've been covering this story since the next day after it happened, and opinions have been all over the place. I'm traveling. I just got to my hotel room, but as soon as I turn my phone on, this is the first thing that I'm seeing. I'm getting all these text messages. So what's going to happen? On Thursday, December 4th, she'll stand before a judge and she will enter her plea. Now, a couple of months ago, I told you all that she was getting indicted. Did I not? Welcome back to Naja News. We have an exclusive. We've just learned that Holly Quadajah Johnson is going to get her day in court after all. The Chicago prosecutor's office is looking at Holly, and she will be facing a jury of her peers. She is officially facing indictment. And what I decided to do was kind of take my mouth off the case because I knew my information was accurate. I just will not ever reveal my sources. Y'all should know that about me right now. I got accused of taking sides, which I absolutely do not take a side. I really am interested in this case, just like you are, and I've been able to look at it from a lens of all possibilities. Some people are very emotional about leaning toward one side or the other. My brain doesn't sit there. I legit want to know what happened. This is my prediction, and I'm not saying I'm going to be right about everything, but this is my prediction. So remember when I said, and y'all can go back, as a matter of fact, I'll tag that video when I had mentioned, y'all, this girl is getting indicted. It was not public news. Nobody put it out there yet. I just found out from my source, right? So now that a charge has actually come down, it's a first-degree murder charge. Now, she immediately pled self-defense. We know that she spent some time locked up the day of the murder, the day of the crime, and then she was let go because it seemed that they had taken her self-defense plea. I have no doubt in my mind that the pressure from the public, the family, how popular this story was, and I said it before on my last video, it's time-stamped and dated. Go back and watch it. I knew that the state was going to have to do something because we were all making too much noise about this case. People showed up for this case, whether they believe they wanted Holly to go to jail, and some people still want Carlos to go to jail, and some people said Romeca's wrong, like all over the place. This case was polarizing because we saw the letter that Romeca wrote to her son, her 6-year-old baby, right when she dropped him off to school. And it pulled at our heartstrings. Now, what we later started to find out through people releasing private footage of Romeca, and maybe not some of her best moments. They made her look angry. They made her look like a crazy baby mama. They made her look highly volatile and violent. And then we saw that Holly had placed a few complaints and gotten some restraining orders, order of protection against Romeca. I'm still not sure, and I will always tell y'all if I'm sure or not. I'm not sure if this is the case, this one that was awarded was by default because Romeca didn't show up, but that's what my sources say. I've not been able to really see any paperwork. So, you know, if I see the paperwork, if I talk to somebody myself, then I'll be like, hey, y'all, okay. But even if Holly got those last restraining orders of protection against Romeca by default, it still stood. And Romeca did have a violent history with Holly. Romeca had a violent history with Carlos. Now we've seen videos of her and proof and seen the phone calls and all the other things of her having a history with other people. What I think the state of Chicago is the city is going to do, Cook County is going to do is, Holly's going to stand before that judge. She's going to enter a plea of not guilty, self-defense. We all knew that because she said it while Romeca was still on the ground, still fighting for her life. She had already said it. Hey, listen, it was self-defense. I got to carry a license. Like, she had already said that in an interesting tone, by the way. She seemed quite calm, but hey, none of us know what we would do if we were in that situation. Thank God, by God's grace, I've never been in that situation. Neither have you. And one thing, I saw a lot of people saying, oh my God, Carlos was calm. And then we saw videos later on of him looking like almost he was dissociated. He was panicked. That did not look like a person that wanted that woman to die. Holly has been posting on social media. She thought that this was over. And I said, y'all need to be quiet for about 5 years, because there's a case that I'm following. And I just posted the video last week about when the lady flew from New York City to go and take the life of the woman that her baby daddy that she was pregnant by. She flew to Florida to go take that woman's life and hopped her butt back on a plane. That woman just got sentenced, and this was 2.5 years ago. She just got sentenced to life in prison. And that man that she killed that other lady over is already engaged, and he has custody of that baby, and some other woman is going to be calling that baby hers. So one thing that I realized is you need to stay off social media in cases like this. Holly was back on social media. Holly's family was talking on social media. She did not come off as a likable or sympathetic character. Carlos online came off as cocky, arrogant, unlikable. I don't really think there was much that he could have said. He could have groveled. He could have dumped Holly publicly. He could have called Holly out and, just discredited her and all that, said she was guilty. And I don't think people still would have seen him as a character that deserves sympathy. The state looks at all of this. They are going through social media just like you and I are. They're combing. This is where they get their evidence from. This is where they even get swayed through the court of public opinion. So December 4th on Thursday, 2026, this girl has been charged. Y'all got this girl charged with first-degree murder. And she's going to get up there and they're going to say, how do you plead? And she's going to say, not guilty, not by reason of insanity, not because she didn't pull the trigger. She's going to say, not guilty because it was self-defense. And I have all this paperwork to prove it. And Romeca's family says, okay, well, she went and got all this paperwork to create a paper trail. That could be very well true. But now we're going to start to see some of the body cam footage. That's going to come out. A lot of us have already started requesting that. And because it's an ongoing case, it's tough to get that stuff. But that's what I do when I study these cases. We go to the county and say, can we get that body cam footage so we can examine it, so we can go over it with our audience? They ain't releasing that to us yet. And when I saw they were not going to release that, I said, oh, somebody's going to do something. Let me tell y'all my theory, and you're not going to like this. But y'all know, hey, listen, I'm going to be in the comments after I post this video so you can tell me how you feel about it. But I block you, though, so just be careful. Just, this is a fair space, but let's not be disrespectful or ugly with each other. Feelings are high. We talk about a bunch of emotional cases on here. So it's a first-degree murder charge. So let me just open up my computer. First degree, when I saw that, and not to ramble on, but in that last video, I was like, okay, they're going to do a big charge, because they want to shut us up. I'm sorry, Chicago. I'm sorry to the state's attorney. I'm sorry to the prosecutor's office. They want to shut us up. Let me type this in. First degree murder. What's the meaning of first degree murder? So I think they gave her this charge because they don't necessarily want to convict this lady. I don't think the state wants to lock her up. I think the state thinks that this woman was well within her right to defend her person, to defend her child, her space from Romeca, who she had already asked the state to help restrain away from her. Romeca, we know what Romeca did approach her. We know that she was over there. We know that Holly was over there. Quadajah was with her boo, her baby daddy. Romeca spotted them, came over to where they were. That's, at this point, a fact that we just cannot argue anymore, no matter how you feel about that. So first degree murder is the most serious form of criminal homicide, generally defined as the intentional, willful, and premeditated killing of another person. The exact definition and penalties vary significantly by jurisdiction within the United States. To secure a conviction for first-degree murder, prosecutors typically must prove specific elements beyond a reasonable doubt. The reason I think that they issued this charge is because they know they can't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. I think they gave us They handed out this charge to calm emotions, to shut us up, to pacify us. Because why would you give such an insurmountable charge that's really tough to prove? And listen, let's put our emotions aside. Let's put our personal feelings aside. Let's put aside how attached we became to that sweet note that this young woman wrote her baby, to this beautiful big brown eyes of this motherless little boy. If you can, I need you to put this to the side. And if we're going to look at the facts, was this premeditated? Did that lady say, I'm going to go to where I know Romeca's going to be, and I know she's going to drive up to me and come over here where I am and bang on the car and threaten to hurt me and my baby again? And by the way, all of the voice recordings are going to be released of the points of contention and these women arguing. What we've seen online ain't nothing. That's nothing. That's nothing compared to the death threats, like to all of the things that are about to come out in this case. I don't know if it's going to sway your opinion, but it's going to make you say, ooh, okay. So maybe this girl was afraid for her life, and all she has to be able to do is make the jury doubt that. Because in order for them to get a conviction of first-degree murder, they have to show beyond a reasonable doubt that it was premeditated, intentional, and willful. Now, she had the gun there. She was there. Some would argue that if she was so afraid of Romeca, why on earth was she near a place? I don't think that's going to hold up in court. I don't think that's going to hold up in court, because we get a restraining order because we say, hey, if you see me, you need to stay 500 feet away. You need to stay 1,000 feet away from me. And if a person breaks the law, then you're well within your right to defend yourself. I think that she's going to get a lesser charge. First degree murder. Let's see what first degree murder in Chicago sentence. Let me type that in. In Chicago. Let's see how long, if she got convicted of first degree murder, how long would she stay in jail? 4. And I'm in this hotel, y'all. My internet is running super slow. Okay. So penalties for the conviction can range from a minimum of 20 years to life imprisonment without parole for offenders over 21, or the possibility without parole for offenders under 40. So if she gets convicted of it, that we're talking 20 years, I think she's going to get a lower, I think, and it's going to be a while. We'll see, because now she's going to have to appear. I think she will be granted a bond. They're not going to say they're going to keep her there until a trial date. They are going to give this girl, they're going to give Holly Quadajah Johnson a bond. She'll be able to go home to Carlos and her baby, and they'll be able to live as a family until this hearing starts. And then at the hearing, she will have to defend. She'll have to fight for her own life now. Her attorneys, she's going to have to pay, her and her family are going to have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for the top attorneys to keep her out of jail, or to get her as short a sentence as possible. I think in order to calm the public, I do think that she'll get, just because public outcry has been so great and the national attention, well, at least for those of us that really care, this has been on our minds and hearts. This is why a lot of y'all know me, because this case right here, this case sparked me to start studying other cases of femicide. I've posted some other videos. I'm putting videos out every Wednesday because, unfortunately, this is not the only one like this. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, this is kind of what we talk about. And I want to start going more into the psychology on why on earth, not blaming either person. The cases that I'm studying typically are going to involve a man in the middle. Because if there were no Losos Ways, no Carloses of the world, if he somehow had not allowed these women to intermingle, I don't know if there was some crossover in their relationship, I know what the rumors say, then would this have happened? Or, you know, it's anyway, I'm not going to start rumbling and bumbling here. But yeah, so I don't think she's going to get that, y'all. I don't think she's going to get that. The case that I mentioned earlier about the lady, the New York lady, and it's posted. I'll tag that video. Now, that woman, that was premeditated. She bought a plane ticket, went to go kill that girl, put the girl's clothes on after she killed her because her clothes were all bloody, and then got on a plane and came back to New York. So that's premeditated. That's why she got life in prison. This ain't that. And I know it was a different state, but then they still have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So Thursday, I'll be back. Obviously, we're back now. We're back on this case, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens. We all know that she's going to plead. Holly Quadajah Johnson is going to plead not guilty. Will Carlos show up in court with her? Is Romeca's family going to come to the sentencing? Will they be able, because they're emotional, they are hurt. She only passed in September. It hasn't even been 60 full days. She only recently left. So, how are they? Are they going to be able to be there? Can they keep their composure? I hope that they can, because this process is started because of the noise everyone has made about this case, about hopefully seeing Romeca get whatever the public's, your own perception or your definition of vengeance and justice. We're here now. So I'm back on this case. And when I hear something, you'll hear something. You all have a good night, and thank you so much for tuning in to Naja News. Please like, share, and subscribe to this video, because this case isn't going anywhere. But I told y'all that, and I'm not going to say I told you so. I'm not going to say some of y'all owe me an apology. I'm not going to say it, but just the best apology is just continue to tune in. Please subscribe, and definitely go check out the other videos, because I feel like all of these people, all of these victims, they deserve their stories to be told. And for some, because of this case, which is why I just won't leave this case, it just opened my eyes to how much of this happens, how many times women are pitted against each other, and things like this happen. It happens every single day. So I'll share some other links with you all, and I'm on the case. I'm back on the case. Thank you so much for watching Naja News.